Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Happy New Year! The Country Cold Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Cold Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Cold Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th. Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses EDDIE-FICATION to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through EDDIE-FICATION, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, and welcome to this New Year's Eve, Old Year's Day program, the final for 2023. In these parts, we say Old Year's Day, while in the US, Canada, and other US-influenced parts of the world, it is referred to as New Year's Eve. Of course, I still believe it has to do with many of us wanting to hold on to the old, especially if it was a good year, in light of not knowing what's on the horizon. After all, we must remember the New Year's Eve celebrations of 2019 was mammoth, and 3 months into 2020, fortunes were to change drastically by way of the pandemic that lasted way into 2022. As we usher in 2024, let's hold the faith that things will be better for us all, and that whatever surprises, man-made or even natural, that may be lurking on the horizons for each and every one of us, or collectively for that matter, we are better equipped to handle and survive even more robustly than we did COVID-19. Our topic today, our problem is not our eyes. It's our village that we are addicted to that boxes us in. Too often we want to depend on seeing through our eyes and not through the spirit. Keon Henderson tells us, the Bible says, Jesus comes to the man and took him by the hand and leads him out of the village. The truth is, you would be able to see if you would get out of your village. The reason why so many of you cannot see is because you are so addicted to your village that you do not recognize it is actually contributing to your blindness. So you have the same surroundings, same friends, same attitude, just to continue to fit in. And that is precisely why you are blind. You see, our problem is not our eyes. It's our village that we're addicted to that boxes us in. So folks, let's get loaded up with some mental multivitamins to begin the new year wiser and of course more prepared for all that's to come. Because we don't know what the future holds, but let us be prepared like the good old scout. Be prepared. From all appearances, Christmas was well celebrated this year. Lots of cheer was shared throughout the length and breadth of the state of Grenada, with elected government representatives taking night and making day to spread joy to communities regardless of age of residence. Our beloved Prime Minister and his team, they ought to be very tired for having made some serious rounds nationwide, not leaving anyone behind. Welcome once again to this 198th edition of EDDIE-FICATION. As soon as you come into the room and finished up with your greetings to your edification community, of course, I beg of you, hit the share button and let's get a move on. We are in for yet another instructive ride today, the last edition for 2023. Of course, I promise to continue to share from where I left off on a particular score so that you get an understanding as to how much I was familiar with a young nastiness that morphed and evolved into a full-blown old nastiness today. You're invited to be as interactive as you are used to being with all your relevant comments, your likes, your love, whatever. For those of you who have not yet followed my Eddie Frederick page on Facebook, do so. Please do so. You can also subscribe to my Edward Frederick YouTube channel and receive your notifications for only positive vibes delivered in my tough love packages straight to you. Trust me, consistency has been my mainstay, and hence I continue to reap the desired rewards of our universe. I can tell you of this firsthand, as I have been the recipient of nothing but true and genuine blessings. As per usual, folks, I invite all our young people, pull up your chair, pay attention, keen attention to today's sharing, so that you can know how much you're worth as a human being, and that you can continue to go out there and break that yoke that is over you. But things are not going to change for you unless you change. Reminder, hit that share button, hit it, and expose some of your youthful friends to this meaningful, homegrown, motivational, and inspirational delivery, tailor-made just for you. Allow me to say thanks to all of you who called and sent private messages of commendation to me for making this particular story public, qualifying me thus to tell you confidently that the old nastiness today ain't good and ain't good long. This ought to qualify all of you to continue to distance yourselves from the memory of our immediate, undesirable past, where our leadership was presided over by people who just did not care about us in the main, as long as they could have personally prospered. For the several of you who continue to believe in the old nastiness, I advise you to unkeet yourselves, as you will not experience a good life if you choose to ignore this sound advice. Our problem is not our eyes, it is our village that we are addicted to that boxes us in. So let's take a little break here and we'll come right back with quite a bit, because I promise you, today being the last day of the year, it's not going to be easy. All right, so stay tuned. Call your friends, tune them in, and let's get a move on here today, because it's going to be good. Better than good, I must say.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program. Happy New Year! The Country Code Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Code Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause, and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Code Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks, wonderful. I always tell people, welcome back, that I do not really care if at the end of the day, one person alone joins me to listen to what I say. At least I will be motivated at the thought that I am not speaking to myself. You see, quality attracts less people than quantity, and hence the reason it is far easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter God's kingdom. You see, when we see stories told of the procession to heaven and hell, you know, you see lions going to heaven, lions going to hell. We see the queue for hell overcrowded, while the queue for heaven is sparse and sorry looking. I prefer to be in the sparse and sorry looking line as against the overcrowded one anytime. In the same token, not everyone is wired to be out there swinging from tree to tree in plain sight. Some people love to be unnoticed and supportive in silence. Good. And they support in silence all the right and proper things in our society, while many love to be in the mix, running their mouths, mostly criticizing and making confusion. Folks, one way or the other, we know that we are doing something when we can wake up the ire of any and many. I tend to do that well, while I remain focused on the prize of using my gifts to speak up and be counted. It is against this backdrop that I thank all the folks who keep sending me private messages and emails, taking the time to make inquiries, to secure my telephone number, to personally call, to express their gratitude for all that I do, and the brave stand I took, or take generally, to proceed consistently over the years. It gives me pleasure to share my comment, a comment that I received rather, from Mr. Jocelyn Whiteman, a former minister of government headed by the old nastiness, under my last week's edition, 197 of Edification. Quote, Grenadians and friends of Grenada, wherever you are tuned into Eddie Frederick to be enlightened regarding the character who led our country for the last 24 or so years. I thought I knew the character, but Eddie knows him better. Let me say finally that my only regret in my 84 years on planet Earth was being introduced to this dangerous character, unquote. But a John Bristol Joseph also commented, Eddie Frederick, your commitment, sorry, to information shared with anyone that will listen has for years been a force to reckon with. Thus, those who are directly embarrassed hearing you try to silence you, but it didn't happen. May God continue to bless you with wisdom, keeping your family safe, and that you'll be granted more years of life to grace us with your presence, with that which we need to know. Unquote. Thank you, John. And for all the others with similar comments, I thank you, thank you, thank you. You see, I take notice of the spots of gratitude expressed by several of you who either do so privately or publicly in your own way that help to encourage me to press on. Thanks for your support, especially when you go through the pain to ensure that you get through to me to so express. You are gems indeed, and your thoughts do serve as worthy encouragement for what I do. John Maxwell teaches us that if we really want to be transformed, we have to live an intentional life. He said most people don't live their life, they accept their life. And when you accept your life, you are living on things that are not worthy of your time, effort, and energy. To go uphill, you have to be intentional, for you can never go uphill by accident. There is nothing referred to as accidental achievements. You have to be intentional with what you do. You see, since we were small children growing up, we were taught to speak the truth and speak it ever, cost it what it will. So, you see, being someone that likes to speak the truth and stand up for what is right, I was always at an early age to be prepared. I was told and warned at this early age to be prepared to be lonely and treated differently for speaking up. And that is precisely why I shelve any interest in being accepted by any and many, and don't give two hoots about developing new friendships. In fact, I minimize the difference in treatment by limiting my goings out and general circulation in this our mostly hypocritical society. I really do not care for many people anymore, and therefore to be around and about is no longer something on my radar. I prefer to go to Lafayette Blue, sit alone, or with my daughter and my now adopted son, and have a coffee and scones, than to be around and about in circulation, as it were. Or I prefer to spend time with my lovely, properly socialized dog at home, where I can feel the ignition of great vibes within just by mere interaction with her. There is no secret that people feel more connected to animals than they feel to humans. You see, this is because the way animals and humans interact is not by words. We must remember that words can be misunderstood. My definition of a word could be totally different from yours. With a dog, and certainly mine, words do not get in the way of our genuine love for each other. I am already aware that when I speak the truth, I cause people to feel guilt and shame for taking part in whatever it is I am calling out. There is something called attribution theory. That's when people try to make sense of the world around them and their experiences. You see, they will attribute that to your motives. So instead of looking internally at themselves and inflecting, they will flip it back to you and assume that your intentions are coming from a bad place. Let's say I'm speaking about a low-life public figure in our leadership environment. Instead of thinking, wow,
He is a real old nastiness in throat. They have been trying to flip it back and say, don't worry, Eddie Frederick, man. He just envy the man. Or long I hear you don't like black people. You see, when they realize it is not working, they become aggressive and hostile. I have never been afraid to challenge their view of themselves, whether they are ready to accept it or not. What they cannot understand and appreciate is that I am not interested in friendship and association at this stage in my life. And therefore, it's open season. And I keep coming like each of the 7 days of the week, as if to be the 8th consistently. You see, I remember hearing people my mother's vintage say, touch not God's anointed. And always wanted the full context of it. Thank God I have lived long enough to understand it today. People who are well-intentioned and just good, deep within, are usually taken advantage of by those who have no darn good intention at all. We all have to sit up and take note of how we treat people, for fear that we end up treating God's anointed poorly and attracting his wrath in return. You see, that could never end well for you. There are certain people that God does not play about. And all of us must strive to be one of those people. I am sure as day that I am one of them. None can convince me that being as brave as I am and not have God's anointing, joke you make it. Joke you make it. Because people don't come brave just so. None of us know who God has put on an assignment. None of us know what assignment God has given to anyone. But you know what exposes that assignment? Consistency. You see, if God has placed any of us on assignment, there is nothing you can do to prevent him from protecting that person from your hate, from your negativity, from your intention to harm them. They are on assignment from the higher source. No weapon formed against them shall prosper. And every time you put your mouth on God's anointed, it backfires on you big time. And all hell will break loose in your life. Now, folks, remember this. You were not told that no weapon will form against you. But you were told that none that is formed against you shall prosper. You see, a very long time ago, an old woman who must be dead by now, God rest her soul, she said to me, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm remembering the gist of what she said. She says, Sonny, you know, you are pursuing your purpose. And when God gives you a purpose, he always provides protection and grants you life to see it through to the end. You are indeed blessed to make these sacrifices that you are making to bring truth to this nation and call a spade a spade. Never forget the gist of that particular sharing with me. Folks, you see, when I told you what I told you, our problem is not our eyes. Our problem is our village that we are addicted to, that boxes us in. We have to break out of the village. If you are maturing in life and you still have the same friends from infancy, check yourself. You're probably not maturing, especially if those same friends are not on the same growth trajectory as you. If they are not growing, you need to leave them behind. You got to let them go. Otherwise, that village is going to stunt your growth. Let's take a little break and we'll come back. More fire. Remember, today is an extended version, an extended edition of this August institutional program called EDDIE-FICATION, the 198th edition. So let's take a little break and we'll come right back with some more.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Happy New Year! The Country Cold Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Cold Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Cold Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. And I really take it that, you had a great Christmas holiday, because I did. Very quiet, lovely, spent with nice people. Because Christmas is not a time for you to spend with people that you have to second guess. You must spend it with nice people, good people, or spend it with yourself, unless you're not a good person. Folks, welcome back. Look at the many people among us who obviously have demons that are attracted to the anointing that is on your life and waiting to see you fall. Oh God, Grenada is a factory for that kind of people. The place has become so vile, presided over by this vile element for so goddamn long, that the place has become venomous, poisonous, negative, awful. And that is why I intend to continue spending the rest of my life calling out that old nastiness, so that you all will understand the role that old nastiness has played in stunting your growth, in keeping you pauperized and vulnerable, that you can't G, you can't wo, and all you could do is wallow in the lolly drain, minding people business, wishing people bad, because that's where your head is. It takes no effort to do that, people. Come out of the gutter, all of you. Come out. He is gone, never to come back. I know that for a fact, because I can feel it in the universe. Never to come back. But he's going to get his rightful place in our history, in the halls of disgrace. You see, a lot of people will bring up scandals about you, make up accusations and rumors about you. They will watch you. They will take pictures of you and doctor them to fulfill their fake narratives. They'll write articles about you. The demons they have over their own life cause them to be obsessed over you and yours. They'll stalk you. They'll troll you on social media. No interaction, but they will watch everything you do. They are waiting for you to do something that they can expose you for, because they're trying to destroy everything you're trying to build. That is why it is so important to have an apostolic, evangelical, and pastoral anointing. And when you find it, hold it and massage it. You see, it is so important for you to pray for the strength through character development in this demonic season. It is important for us and all of us, our personal character, to be aligned with the character of the universal ordering. You see, when you have a spiritual anointing on your life, the spirit of scandal, sabotage, and character assassination will always be following you. Be like me. Don't give a damn. Because all this is a manifestation of the devil hating the anointing that's on your life. Pray for character development in this season so that you can tap into the nature of the one God of our universe, not the one that they have in the Jesus industry buildings that they have all over the place, where pastor taking your tithes and enjoying himself and he family self, and they're doing well, and you catching hell. Not them kind of place we talk. The God of our universe. Not the one they have in the church, and they have pictures of that God, the little white man. No, we're not talking about idolatry nonsense. We're talking about that God force, the real God force, not the financial blessing one, not that one, not the Jesus industry one, not the one that the thieves at the pulpit preach about, not that one, the real one. You see, many of you confused inferior minds. You're so confused. Your inferior mind, it's easy for you to be confused, because if your mind is inferior, what can you expect? You see, a lot of you don't understand the demonic nature of westernized Christian religion, which is prosperity and money centered. In hearing my undiluted criticism of it, you may even want to feel I am a non-believer. You're on your own with that. You are certainly incorrect when it comes to me being an unbeliever. I am a non-believer in the way you believe through your voluntarism to be taken as a fool by the prosperity preachers while they rob you blind from their pulpits. They are pulpit thieves. And of course, the decent few, whoever you might be, don't take any offense. If you know you're decent, close your ears. This is not for you. Just shout hallelujah. At least somebody else is calling them out. And that is precisely why I am reaping better and more meaningful benefits from the way I believe and worship, always giving God the praise through gratitude and genuine enthusiasm. Remember what I always tell you. Character is who you are, while reputation is what others think of you. Focus on who you are. Don't give a damn about what anyone thinks of or feels about you. They are on their own with that. I have taken care of my character and invite you, each and every one of you, to do the same. So much like me, your reputation, what others think of you, can take care of itself. But you need to take care of your character and be consistent at it. Because once you are consistent, you see, consistency converts people, folks. Consistency converts people. So just be consistent and you'll be all right. And that is precisely why when I walk into a room, the rabble feel intimidated. The snakes feel threatened. And the few positive elements in the room feel inspired. You see, character of a person is the core of a person. Something that comes from deep within. And it causes people to have consistent patterns of behavior. You want to find people who have strong character to associate with, as opposed to weak character. People with strong character are adaptable. They're fluid. They can admit that they are wrong. They can learn from their experience. They can take criticism and they can work with other people. Stop focusing on people's charming exterior, on their funny words or their wit. Instead, focus on their deep inequalities, on their core, their character. You see, because that's who they really are. Your character is creating what happens to you in life. Character is fate, not faith, fate, F-A-T-E. When you hold these things dear to you, you could afford to act and believe like me, not giving a damn, because you know who you are and you are comfortable with who you are, just as you are, faults and all. You see, when you follow a pattern for your life that produces effortlessness at living. You realize that it becomes easy to invest your time in the few people who love you, who have been there for you, who have been fighting for you, who have stood by you in your highs and your lows. Refuse to give your energy to people who come to take from you when it benefits them. That is why many of you need to unkeep yourselves, because all that old nastiness has ever done to you is take, and give you scraps in return, while he is rich and mean with his riches, and you are vulgarly poor and vulnerable, just as he wants you. Focus your energy on people that can raise you up and strengthen you. You must first have an appreciation for the difference between wrong and right. This will ensure that you stop glorifying wrong just because it brings instant prosperity, which all too often is short-lived. Folks, I recently told someone that at my senior citizen age and stage, I have no idea how many more years I have to go. But I can tell you that I intend to put a lot of life in what years I have left. I intend to be a lot more aloof socially and invest more in my work while using it to socialize and help develop people in the process. Quality is my focus going forward and has been over the greater part of the last 15 or so years. I must admit that during the Christmas holidays, I was saying to myself that I have to be a mentally strong person indeed. When you think of all that I went through over the years, and I am still standing, never one day tempted to inflict harm on myself or to break down and become depressed, I have only God to thank for the strength that I was born with. Of course, I owe a lot to my mother, who stood up with her 5 bastard children and plowed all the necessary values in us to be able to withstand whatever life throws at us. I am therefore qualified to tell you that mentally strong people have self-discipline and only do nice things for people who treat them with respect. If you aspire to become a mentally strong person, trust me, your living environment will be different. We are all flawed as human beings, all. I just think some of us are more comfortable than others with our flaws. I learned a long time now that when you are aware of your flaws, you have grace for others. When one is blind to his flaws, he's quick to judge others, forgetting to take the mote out of his own eye. You see, when largesse dried up from freeloaders of our society, they get angry. And instead of realizing the justifiable shift that change brings, they become judgmental about the new perceived receivers, who in most cases are more qualified in the areas of competence and capacity. Folks, in my self-imposed solitude, I have learned to protect myself from jealousy and the evil eye. You see, Kabbalah, which is a Jewish word for mystical interpretation of the Bible, explains that most of the pain and chaos in our lives is as a result of others' jealousy towards us. In fact, when we are born, we have a given date that we will live to, an expiry date, as it were. And quite a high percentage of us die before that date, because jealousy causes us to lose life and leave this world sooner than we were meant to. What is jealousy, and how can you protect yourself? You see, anytime someone's lack is awakened because of you, this is jealousy. You want me to say that again? Anytime someone's lack is awakened because of you, this is jealousy. For example, ladies, if you are pregnant and your sister who loves you is genuinely happy for you. She feels, oh, I do love my sister, you know. But why is it not me that's pregnant? Why can I not get pregnant too? This is jealousy. Your sister loves you, but her lack was awakened because of you. There must be a way to protect yourself. Every time you try your best to conceal your blessings and prosper in silence, your efforts to conceal creates a protection shield around you that repels jealousy. Conversely, if you hope people will notice you, notice your beauty, notice your nice car, notice your clothes, your nice clothes that you wear, notice your new body or your new life, if you secretly hope everyone will notice, this is opening up your protection shield, leaking your energy and allowing jealousy in to cause chaos in your life. Practice humble concealment with rabid focus on what you do. And while you succeed in silence and private, your results will do the talking all on its own without the need to flaunt and attract jealousy. The story is told of a very poor woman, folks, who called a radio station asking for help from God. An atheist, of course, a non-believer, who was listening to the radio program, decided to make fun of the woman. He obtained the woman's address from the radio station and instructed his personal assistant to deliver for her a large amount of food, and told her when the woman asked who sent the food, tell her it's from the devil. When the personal assistant arrived at the woman's house, the woman was happy and grateful for the help that she had received. She began putting the food packets inside the small house. The personal assistant to this rich man asked her, don't you want to know who sent the food? The woman's reply was tremendous. No, I don't really care. Because when God orders, even the devil obeys. That is what you call flipping the script with a strong belief in the one and only God. Not the one who gives you things for his or her own benefit, but the one and only who gives you true and genuine blessings, that you may have life and have life abundantly. You see, what are you receiving today that appears to come out of the blue that you really needed? Whether it is sent by the devil or otherwise, the first source of our universe is where the original command came from. Sanctify it, accept it with open arms. After all, it is God's will that anything obtained through dishonest means end up in the hands of honest people. Your gratitude is to God and not the earthly hands that delivered whatever you received. A genuine thank you is all the messenger deserves, one that you sincerely mean. You are not meant to be grateful forever at your peril, for many earthly messengers are never genuine givers without any strings attached. Let your spirit of discernment go to work. Just recently, I was a target of a gift from someone whose spirit did not sit right with me. My response was simply, thank you, but no thanks. I am good. When you are blessed with the spirit of discernment, in a split second, you could see all the strings attached to gifts that are not well meant. You see why people don't really like me? But I'm always in the mood for people not to like me, because I'm straight up. I tell you already, when you're coming, come good or don't come at all. Our problem is not our eyes. It's our village that we are addicted to that boxes us in. Folks, let's take another break. I told you this is an extended version, so be prepared.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Happy New Year! The Country Cold Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Cold Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Cold Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Welcome back, folks. And those of you just joining, I want to welcome you to this 198th edition of Edification, the final one on the final day of 2023. Of course, it's the final one for 2023 also. No more time to have another, unless I want to have one tonight before midnight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You see, last week I advised you that loyalty is never a virtue poorly socialized people have any proper understanding of. And so without realizing it, they fall prey to the vicious cycle of he whose loyalty could be purchased, his loyalty is always for sale. Poorly socialized people who finally reach a position of authority and who might have no good intention whatsoever will always tend to do something for you with the intent of something in return. You see, such people tend to be transactional with basic kindness, as it is all they know how, in order to maintain their position of authority, which such people should not be in the first place. As mentioned last week, I must have said something on my pungently frank radio program one Sunday, way back when in 1996. And it vexed the younger nastiness back then profusely. Of course, he got so angry that he got a mutual friend of influence, one of the three late prominent people I personally introduced him to back when he was a younger nastiness disguised as a man with the pepper sauce to replace Blair's and all the backwardness that Blair's stood for, to call me to his office. Of course I went. Of course. I went without realizing that I was about to be ambushed. Folks, that was back in 1996. Not even a good year after the old nastiness's ascension to the seat of power over all you. Never over me. You see, this is where I stopped. And I promise to recommence this week so that you can learn and understand and have a greater understanding of the history that brought me to this place, where having discovered this younger nastiness was just that and could never have evolved into anything other than the old nastiness he is today. I'm so comfortable calling this element that old nastiness. It isn't funny. As any time I think of him, that is all that comes to my mind. While so many of you, without regard for the virtues and values of life, wasted and continue to waste your regard for a man that has demonstrated how much disregard he has had for you and still holds you in total disregard. You see, when I got into the humble office space of this friend, he asked close relatives and confidants to excuse us as we had some very private matters to discuss. They all filed out of the office, and usual pleasantries ensued over coffee and tea after their exit. Within a short while, the door was knocked, and upon being signaled to come in, the man's personal assistant opened the door and announced the presence of the younger nastiness by office. I really thought that our little session that had not properly started was about to be abandoned because of this heavyweight disturbance. I had no clue that I was about to be ambushed. More pleasantries ensued with the new entrant to the room. Of course, knowing my place, I was about to ask to be excused and be on my way when the attack was launched. Remember, folks, this was 1996, not even a good year after the June 20th, 1995 elections. All dressed in white in preparation for a game of cricket somewhere about, but spared the time to preside over this ambush, which did not start well, far less to end well. The dictatorial manner in which the younger nastiness approached the matter was unbecoming of a man in his position. Needless to say, I lost it. And in losing it, stood up quite well for myself, much to his surprise, and of course, much to the disappointment of the host, for the out-of-control manner in which things panned out that were not anticipated. I firmly believe that the intention of the host was well-meaning, coming from a good place, indeed. Could you imagine this younger nastiness back then asking me how I could go on radio and say what I said, as if to give people a negative impression of him? I cannot remember exactly what the comment was, but it must have had to do with some indication of his inherent dishonesty, which did not take long to show itself. I had to remind him that I don't work for him, and that the mere fact that he could have liked my program when he was out trying to get in, and now that he is in, he has a problem with it, it says a lot about my consistency. I therefore intend to continue to play the role regardless of how he feels, or anyone in his realms of politics feels. Of course, by this time, a couple colorful words, flavored our back and forth deliveries, with me not backing down at all. Not one bit. Because my mouth ain't easy. The people who know me well, they know that very well about me. You see, remember there's a book in the Bible that says Ecclesiastes. There's a time and a place for everything. Not so? All right. I invoke that book. And I know exactly when to invoke it. Just remember, folks, a liar has no memory. And therefore, the liar in question always tried to and continues to try to make stupid people believe that I am crazy to be calling him out from 1996 to all know for who he is, an old nastiness. I am blessed with long memory and the power of recall. All my school friends could tell you that. Needless to say, the host did not expect this to go so badly, as it deteriorated from the get-go, because there was no way I was going to allow this inferior element, as demonstrated in full flow, to cower me into silence. His parting words were an implied threat. Go ahead, man, go ahead. You go get what coming to you. Go ahead. This is where I felt qualified to go all out, to be on the rampage, as I was and still am for all these years, sacrificing myself to bring wisdom to the nation about this serious threat this inferior element was to all of us and genuine nation building. But among you never paid attention, so you ended up now in the back, being only qualified to observe 50 years of independence because you squandered almost 30 years being happy to have that old nastiness presiding over your affairs. It has always been about him and no one else. And when you say something that he does not like, he would use the power of state loaned to him to beat you into submission. You should never be surprised at the state of Grenada today, after the 1995 to 2022 period, for the most part, under any such inferior leadership. With the younger nastiness allowed to evolve naturally into the old nastiness through the negligence of the majority, who was more concerned about victimization and threatening to turn decent citizens into bankrupts while ignoring the nation's affairs. Folks, needless to say, the host was very embarrassed and apologetic, especially to think that our relationship went back to when I was only 10 years old, having approached him in a mannerly, well-trained manner to purchase something, and our relationship grew from strength to strength. God rest his good soul today. You see, the one thing people cannot lie to me about is energy. You know how many people this nastiness has told he really likes and has their best interest at heart and will support them and has the greatest intentions for them, but because they're not wont to pay attention, they did not see that the nastiness was only lying to them because they ignored their gut. Gut feelings are real, folks. Never ignore your gut. There are too many people that will tell us all the right things and on paper will be wonderful. But when your gut tells you something is wrong, never ignore it. Folks, I am as frank as they come. Several among us feel people who operate like me, like how I do, are confrontational. I beg to differ. That depends on what you mean by confrontational. I have known people who are not confrontational, but who are very problematic, vile, and wicked. They are the hypocritical snakes and demons that we have to deal with on a daily basis, whose venom succeeds in immobilizing us through disappointment and disgust when we finally catch up with them. Sometimes when we finally catch up with them, it's too late because they debilitate us. People like I am are never problematic. We deal with the problem, and the problem does not like us to address them. That's what the problem is. Avoiding the problem makes more problems. The monster swept under the rug is still a monster. Me being willing to address things does not make me the villain. I am just willing to address them. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for lunch. It's my main meal. So if you want to grow to be a better person, you better stay the hell away from people who bring out the old side of you. Whatever the old you consisted of, you have to let that go. Stay away from these people who bring that old side of you out. Whatever these people say to you will trigger you and cause you to go back to that old mode that you used to operate at or with. Avoid them at all costs. If you know they go to the supermarket at a certain time, change the time you go so you won't meet them. Avoid them at all costs. You would be able to operate better in your flow. Our problem, folks, is not our eyes. It is our village that we are addicted to that boxes us in. Let us take that final break, and we'll come back with just before I finally take off here today.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program. Happy New Year! The Country Code Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Code Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause, and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Code Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. And for those of you who joined us late or for the first time, I want to thank you for joining us. Let this be the beginning of good things to come, especially for 2024 and beyond, because we don't know what lurks around the corner. But let us be prepared. Let us be like the old scout. Be prepared. Good. Don't spend all your money on things that you want. Make sure you have your needs covered, because you're going to need something for a rainy day in case something happens. We never anticipated in 2020 that we will have a pandemic to deal with. I am not saying that something is coming. I'm not into the prediction business. I'm not into Obia or I'm not a seaman or anything like that. But based on past experience, folks, it's important for us to, festina lente, hasten slowly. Good. We need to take it light, make sure that our needs are properly met, our bills that are in keeping with shelter, clothing, quenching our thirst, feeding ourselves, taking care of our hearth, or children or family, whatever it is, those things are met. And when you can see smiles from your family while you're sitting and enjoying yourself, you don't even want to have electricity, but that must bring joy to your heart because you're taking care of business. So do what you must to safeguard your needs, and at the same time to take care of your standard of living and quality of life, because those things are not about designer this and designer that, and you have to be in fashion and you're trying to impress this person and that person. Those things cause jealousy. Those things cause unwanted vibes within your system and causes the wrong frequency to take priority in your life, and then you end up the loser for it. We have too many people in this country who are actually not living their best lives because they are sitting there envying others and wasting time and energy envying people, while these same people that are envied are moving ahead with their lives. Come on, folks. Do you focus on you? Good. We also see that the habit of jumping in on people's pages on social media to have to react to whatever is said, it's just ridiculous. The little constable of police who, must be leading the police band, he has a problem, he didn't get promoted, and he stated his case, and he moved on. Why all you had to be jumping in, and the man, and he was so profound. Folks, at times, let me tell you this quick little experience I had. There was a particular young man who I saw going in with his eyes wide shut into the National Nasty Party, was even likely to be a candidate to replace one who fell out some time ago. And I've been telling him, come out of that. You're staining yourself. Well, he never listens. But you know what is interesting? God designed a terrible uprooting for him. Total uprooting. The poor guy don't even want to see the National Nasty Party today. Had to travel because his reputation, character, everything was about to be totally mangled in Grenada. But sometimes, God gives you the opportunity to move easily, and when you disobey, he uproots you almost violently. He learned his lesson. But you know what is interesting? He's doing so well today. That guy is always referring, every time we chat, referring to my consistency of telling him, get out! That's not for you. The two don't go together. Get out! Get out! And maybe that's the same thing that's happening to the police constable. The force may be not for him. So he needed to be bypassed on 2 occasions so that he can find his center and gravitate to his purpose, where he can now sit in his purpose and fulfill his life. What is beautiful about that young man is that he's a young man. There is enough time for him to find his purpose and settle in his purpose. That's all that is. So why it has to be all this back and forth and curry favor, and you're hearing National Nasty Party supporters talking curry favor about the promotions, and then you hear NDC supporters talking about only NNP police that get promoted. Obviously, the promotion looked like it was right, because if it could dissatisfy the 2 sides, the police commissioner looked like he knows exactly who to promote. That's the only message I could get from that. I mean, come on, folks. Stop minding people's business. Some of you jumping on the fray and whatnot. You don't even know where you're getting money from to pay the rent today. You don't even know that. Mind your business. Go and see where you could find the rent to pay, because today is rent day. Tomorrow is grace day. Go and pay your rent. But instead, you're out there minding people's business. You probably don't even have a good meal to sit down and eat today. You don't even know what you're preparing tomorrow, but you're on Facebook. You're on Instagram. You're all over the place with your 3 and 5 inch long eyelash. And those things cost money. Priorities introduce you to a man's character, tells you who you are. And a lot of you are just there ventilating who you are. And when people treat you based on who you are, you're vexed. Folks, get yourself together, man. Do some investing in yourself. Self-awareness, self-development. Because that's what really matters at the end of the day. Folks, this last segment here basically begins with me telling you I am in, I am out. Just before I'm gone, allow me the privilege to share my own congratulations to all our hard-working Grenadian sons and daughters who have been standing in the gap to ensure a robust pushback of all the Drake-like creatures of the underworld of the National Nasty Party, the NNP, headed by that old nastiness. All the suckers of the past who fed off the national treasury and became pests and parasites, and who are today like hind out of water, insisting on not taking a day off from attempts to scandalize decent citizens because of the loss of power by the old nastiness and his wench of a faceless, nameless monster. All you people who are standing in the gap, the Akims, the Sawandis, the Ali Mathuras, the J. Alexander, all of you, the Diane Masons, your efforts are not going unnoticed. And of course, the myriad of others. My admonition to you is to continue to stand in the gap, to push them back in their holes, for they have absolutely nothing to offer and are actively cementing the old nastinesses' place in our history as the consistent nastiness he has always been and destined to die being. Folks, I tell you, me ain't taking no day off because they ain't taking none. But what I have noticed is that the intelligence of all of you who stand in the gap to protect this new one freedom, this meaningful up culture that we have embarked on, transformational culture. All of you are light years ahead in intelligence than all the Drake-like characters that they have outside there representing them. Some of them can't even string 10 words together properly. You could just see straw around their mouth, you know, hunger, you know, like pig with straw. It's sad, really, really sad. And all they're doing is rubbish, 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 not making no sense. But they have to do that to earn their keep, to get a little tuppence from the cheap millionaire who don't spend nothing out of his ill-gotten gains. I want to congratulate Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell for topping my list to be appropriately named Man of the Year 2023. To Honorable Andy Williams for capturing the title Elected Representative and Cabinet Minister of the Year. In fact, all his colleagues could take a page from his book if they want to shore up any support to say they're winning seat next time around. Stay focused. Put your head down. Hunker down and do what you need to do. Oh my God. Honorable Delma Thomas for standing out way ahead to be named the Female Political Personality of the Year. Blessings, blessings, blessings to you, my dear. Blessings to all three of you. Apart from the other notables among us for consistency and quality delivery, to include, of course, not limited to, Spice Island Beach Resort, Belmont Estate, Immigration and Passport Office, National Insurance Scheme, Grenlec, Netherlands Insurance, Grenada Cooperative Bank, of course, among others. It is of absolute necessity for me to single out Island Catering for its outstanding delivery to customers of varying levels among us. Island Catering's management need to take a bow for its one-voice approach to leadership, which gives life to the definition of success as a journey and not a destination, and thus their culture. Island Catering continued to stand out in 2023, and may they proceed to take their game to higher heights in 2024 and beyond. Team Island Catering, take a bow. You have it well caught. And as the young people say, your GT, you'll get through again. I could not close today's edition, though, without mentioning one last person who has made me proud with her absolute focus. Folks, that word absolute is not just an adjective to make focus sound nice. I use the word intentionally. Absolute focus. In other words, there is no other focus of this particular young lady. She stands on the shoulders of strong parents and grandparents, a generational platform of soundness from the time business presented itself on their agenda for livelihood. Our grandmother, Audrey Hopkins, had a sweet pair of hands, which she devoted to the kitchen with her cuisine, delighting world-famous people like Queen Elizabeth II with her avocado ice cream, making it the first time, could you imagine that this long-serving royal ever had her dessert before her meal on our world-famous Grandans Beach in the hot sun while on picnic during her late 1960s state visit on board the royal yacht Britannia. Several center spreads of the New York Times and other leading travel trade magazines and periodicals featured her cooking, sponsored by the family's Ross Point Inn at Belmont, St. George. Folks, the influence of the grandparents, Curtis and Audrey Hopkin, was so strong that her father, Royston Hopkin, followed close into to the point where he aspired to and became sole owner of Grenada's flagship resort back in the late 80s, taking it from local recognition to regional and international fame as one of the top 10 unique boutique resorts in the world, one of just under 10 five-diamond resorts in the entire Caribbean basin, and among 120 in the world, and surely a brand that stands totally apart from any other on island. You see, young Miss Janelle Hopkin, President and Managing Director of Spice Island Beach Resort, a qualified and well-trained hospitality practitioner, ably supported by the highest quality certificate, well, not quality, sorry, qualified and certificated and among the best general managers in the hospitality field regionally, Brian Hardy, found herself thrown into the deep end upon the passing of her iconic father, Sir Royston Oliver Hopkin, on 22nd February 2020, and there was no looking back. Folks, all I can say is that my pride in her stems from my knowledge of her from birth, and I can tell you without a quiver in my voice that she is ready to build exponentially on her father's and grandparents' legacy. Her mother, Lady Hopkin, Betty, must be more duly proud of her. Goodly folks, I present Janelle Hopkin, Spice Island Beach Resort to you, and of course the world. Remember, long after I am dead and gone, you can say, I told you so. You ain't seen nothing yet with that young lady. You ain't seen nothing yet. Happy New Year to you all, folks. May you learn the value of minding your own business, leaving others to do what makes them happy, finding what makes you happy, remaining focused, being disciplined in all you do, paying attention to what you consume, your food, your discussions, conversations, your readings, your thoughts, so that you can become a better and more valuable person to yourself in this only life you're given, so that Grenada can benefit bountifully as we move swiftly to build a much better 50 years for generations to come. Come on, folks. Up, 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 up. Come on, put that in the comment section, because that is where we want to see Grenada go in 2024 and beyond. Up, 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 up. Thank you for joining. Continue to share. See you next week, God willing, for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant and lifted. Don't drink too much tonight now, because after the party is over, the new year begins. We have some serious work on our hands. We have to build this country, and we can't build Grenada still drunk. We could only build Grenada as sober citizens. Good? You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. Happy New Year, one and all. May 2024 be the year you take your health more seriously, so together we can bring our national life expectancy to 70 years and over, shifting from the current 69 that it is at. So, toodaloo, cheers to all of you. Take care of your wonderful selves. And let's just keep it pushing and keep a positive outlook on life. Remember, everything that is thrown at you, there is something good to come from it. Just stand in the gap for your country and stand in the gap for your own selves and, of course, your family. Peace and blessings to all of you folks. Remember, it's up, 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 up. 2024 and beyond. Have a great, great one. Cheers.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Happy New Year! The Country Cold Store wishes to advise the general public and its customers that our offices and mini-mart will close on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. However, take note, there will be no truck or van sales on that day. This temporary closure is to facilitate an important general staff meeting. All operations will resume as per normal on Friday, January 5th, 2024. The Country Cold Store apologizes for any inconvenience that this temporary closure may cause and thank the general public and its customers for their cooperation and understanding. Remember, the Country Cold Store will be closed on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Operations resume normal on Friday, January 5th. Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.